summer has passed largely without incident for the SKULLBOYS, who have spent the last few months gradually moving into their new home. The old warehouse that has served as their home base for the past year has been stripped almost entirely bare, reduced to an empty shell. The boys don't have long to get settled in, however, as an extremely dangerous raid has just arrived on their territory. These outlanders are part of a transhumanist culture known as Monistia, formed in the earliest days of the Second Revolution against the Red Talon Empire, and still fiercely maintaining their independence. They've been embarking on a long-term project to reclaim the old industry and technology of the region, and to clearing out the Scarlands more broadly of pirates, raiders, and gangs, bringing with them modernity, secular democracy, and the rule of law. Were this any other story, they might well have been its heroes. The Outlanders have secured a section of the old hospital, where they plan their next moves. Not wanting to give them any time to plan, however, the SKULLBOYS are already making their way towards them. The Outlanders have a variety of modern weapons, including rifles, shotguns, and explosives, and they outnumber the SKULLBOYS 8 to 5, or 8 to 4.5, I guess, depending on how you count hex. The boys are taking some time to scope out the terrain and secure some nearby rooms, should they need to duck for cover. And then, as the boys are passing by a section of a nearby building, their demeanor seems to change. The exposed black wall looks quite different than the other buildings in the area, bearing closer resemblance to the strange, mausoleum-like structure they encountered last year. Perhaps ancient, grotesque ruins harboring incomprehensible things are more commonplace in the Scarlands than we might like to believe, because the SKULLBOYS seem to seize upon their discovery instantly. The boys stand watch while Bullet breaks it open, this time quite carelessly. This does indeed seem to be another tomb, although this one contains a small colony of insectoids guarding it, rather than inscrutable Carnos monstrosities. Insectoids are a popular fixture in entertainment media, of course, though few of us here in the inner systems will ever encounter them ourselves. At this point it seems clear what the SKULLBOYS intend. They have disturbed the insectoids and have now begun firing at the Outlanders, hoping to engineer a collision between the two. It seems to be working. One of the Outlanders already lies dead, cut down by gunfire, and another is wounded. 3 more have gotten distracted by the insectoids, who are now emerging from their tomb, which is on fire. The Outlanders turn and flee from the insectoids, who come bursting out into the open. The SKULLBOYS are raining hell down on them as they try. Another Outlander goes down, and then another, and another. Smoke is pouring out of the tomb, juvenile insectoids buzzing in the air. The fire has triggered the cryosleep pod to decant their occupants, and 6 ancient, battle-tested soldiers emerge blinking into the chaos. The Outlanders are broken and trying to escape, as insectoids chase them down. The sleepers are trying to destroy the insectoid nests, but the smoke is getting to them. They stagger into the sunlight, coughing and vomiting, opening a fire on whatever they can see. The SKULLBOYS lurk nearby, picking off straggling insectoids. They want to keep their distance until their many enemies have worn each other down. As the melee develops and its involuntary participants spread out, the boys duck into another, darkened section of the old hospital, awaiting their opportunity to ambush another victim. As if on cue, a sleeper is chased into their web by an enraged insectoid. Although his armor protects him from the worst of their gunfire, and he even manages to dive behind a pile of loose boulders for cover, Bardark is already on him, beating him with that enormous steel bar of his. Against all odds, he remained standing. For a moment it almost seems like he might be invulnerable, an invincible super soldier locked away eons ago for our own safety, until Bardark delivers a final, crushing blow, and the man's entirely headless corpse drops lifeless to the ground. All that remains now are a few dying Outlanders, a burning crypt, and the sleepers, some of whom are bleeding badly from insect bites or gunshot wounds. The SKULLBOYS return to hiding, lurking in the shadows, letting the sleepers split up, confused and disoriented, not even sure who it is that's attacking them. When one wanders alone into their line of fire, they choose to strike, unleashing a torrent of gunfire on him, but his heavy recon armor lets him shrug most of it off, before reaching an inexplicable pillar of stone that serves him for cover. Bardark tries not to let him get a shot off. Other sleepers follow quickly to investigate the sounds of gunfire, marching one at a time into a firing squad. The man behind the pillar remained standing, defiantly, for several more minutes, before finally succumbing to his injuries. Only one of the sleepers remains, currently attempting to smash up the SKULLBOYS' ornamental gravship in a rage. The boys approach cautiously, not wanting to let him put his incendiary grenade launcher to use. Bardark's injuries make him too slow to fulfill his usual duty, so it falls to Gary to get up in the sleeper's face, preventing him from using his weapon. It takes some time, but at this point the outcome seems inevitable. The man simply cannot withstand the onslaught. He goes down fighting. The boys have successfully eliminated the Outlanders, the Insectoids, and the Sleepers, in one protracted act of calculated carnage. The cleanup will take some time. Valuables are strewn all over the region. The gravship needs to be repaired. The boys need time to recover. While they rest, potatoes go unharvested, and the arduous task of deconstructing their old base is put on hold. Bullet, who has already spent most of the last month single-handedly building the SKULLBOYS' new base, is the only uninjured adult. It's safe to say she's getting tired of taking care of everything. There are no longer any uninjured adults. Complicating matters further is a brutal heatwave. Even in the middle of the night, temperatures remain in the high 30s to low 40s. The boys can't spend much time outdoors without risking heat stroke. Still, over several days, work gradually gets completed, and when the heat finally breaks, a tribal trader stops by. The boys offload some old clothes and buy some more cloth and medicine. Potatoes are being gradually brought inside, to be stored away in the new freezer. And with potatoes, come the first attempts at manufacturing chem fuel, which appears to have been a success. Hex is already excitedly filling up the tank on the gravship. With the gravship fueled and ready to go, the boys get ready to take it on its maiden flight. Only then does Gary realize a problem with their gravship design. They can send the ship out, but it'll need more than 4 days before being able to fly again, meaning any journey they take will need 5 days of meals. Probably a cabin too, for beds. Maybe even a dining nook. Entertainment. 5 days is a long time to be sat in the middle of nowhere. The idea of using a tiny floating platform of shelves as a sort of chem-fueled caravan seems to be off the cards. A gravship redesign might be in order. It's now autumn. The boys have a freezer full of potatoes, a yet still relatively ornamental gravship filled with chem fuel, and are spending the evening cleaning up the local area of its ancient tanks and tank traps by shooting at them until they disintegrate. This can't possibly be the most efficient way to go about this, but I mean, I don't know. I'm suddenly struck by the question of how much ammunition they even have to be able to expend it so freely. Actually, yeah, how much ammunition do they have in storage? And where is it? And how do they replenish it? I don't have a good answer for you. Mysteries of the magazines aside, the base is looking great. The storerooms are stuffed. The fallout from the summer blockbuster Fire in the Tomb, starring the SKULLBOYS, has been almost totally cleaned away, salvaged, recovered, stripped, deskulled or otherwise. and the space clearing operation taking place right now is, I can only assume, part of the SKULLBOYS' efforts to hold that thought. Although by now, raids by human and xenohuman groups are a commonplace, almost mundane occurrence, raids by mechanoid hives and their sub-colonies are also a possibility. It's impossible to ever truly know what triggered a mechanoid raid in a given place at a given time, given that the mechanoid hives in the Outer Rim have no clear, singular origin. Are they the assault drones of a long-vanished civilization? The deranged operations of a rogue AI? Alien intruders from another galaxy? Perhaps all three, merged and amalgamated into a single, corrupted Frankenstein of collective electronic impulses. Or perhaps none of these things. Who can say? Whatever their purpose for arriving here, they are hostile to all human life, although their similarities to the SKULLBOYS end there. These two Lancer-class mechanoids are lethal at long range, but their fragile bodies can't withstand much punishment, a fact which the SKULLBOYS quickly try to exploit. Gary does go down during the attempt, but it's largely due to non-life-threatening bruises. He just doesn't have the experience that Bardark has with melee combat. The final mechanoid in this raid is something mechanologists categorize as a Tesseron-class unit, equipped with a sort of fire beam. It doesn't look pleasant. It's still no match for an enormous steel bar, however. Another big victory for brute strength over the nefarious forces of technology. You know, I'm still not convinced that this is the best way to get rid of these things. I mean, even just using tools to cut them apart must be better, right? The old tanks at least have some sort of wheels remaining. Kind of. I mean, maybe they could just, you know, heave-ho and get them rolled out of the way. Maybe just onto a big scrap sled or something. Rollers, I don't know. The tank traps, I mean, surely they'd be better cutting those apart, no? I mean, I guess that's what they're doing in a sense. It just doesn't seem like shooting at them could possibly be the best way to... I don't know. I mean, if it works, it works, right? If it works, it works. While deconstructions take place outside, inside, Kimmy is working hard on an imminent problem: psychite. The boys have been growing plenty of psychoid leaves, but still haven't quite figured out how to refine it into something ingestible. Wasters, as a xenotype, are dependent on psychite, and need regular doses every week or so. Understanding how to refine psychite seems like a key skill most wasters would learn while growing up. But perhaps they're used to having a tool or process available to them that they don't have access to in this location, for one reason or another. It can't be so difficult, I would assume. Some tribal cultures have been known to brew psychoid leaves into a tea, and many simply chew the leaves before holding them under the tongue, so as to release the... What the hell? What was that? Jesus Christ! A 5-meter cube of steel just took out a section of the old hospital. Wow, what? What is happening in orbit? God damn. Anyway, yeah, as I was saying, the SKULLBOYS... The SKULLBOYS are now officially out of psychoid. No Flake and no Yayo. The mood in the base is starting to become tense once again. The boys are already bickering over who might still be holding out, hoarding the last few crumbs of Flake for themselves. Bullet has directly insulted Bardark's generosity in this regard, leading to a fistfight. As much as I admire Bullet's doggedness, I think we all know how Not how I thought that was going to go. After a brief stint in bed, Bullet has finished clearing out a large section of open space, and it looks like work has begun on a new and improved gravship. That's an interesting shape she's planned out. Could it be... No, surely not. And not long afterwards, the boys figure out a good way to refine their psychoid leaves into flake. Gary wastes no time hopping onto a production bench and getting to work. With the process finalized, the boys have enough leaves to supply them with psychoid products for, well, probably a very long time indeed. More gravship construction means more steel mining, of course. Not a lot of love between Bardark and Bullet right now, one suspects. Ah, yeah. Yeah, that gravship is definitely supposed to look like... Hey, why did it get so dark all of a sudden? It seems as though the mechanoid hive that attacked the SKULLBOYS earlier isn't done yet. This time, rather than attack the boys head-on, it's deployed a sunblocker over their settlement, presumably intending to starve them out of the region, or perhaps hoping to inflict some sort of psychological distress on the SKULLBOYS, though they might have their work cut out for them if that's the case. The really bad news for the boys is that the sunblocker has been deployed on the other side of the local mountain range, meaning it would take the boys almost a full week on foot just to get near the thing. If only the boys had some sort of vehicle, a flying vehicle, capable of crossing great distances in a short amount of time. Maybe, one day, soon. The boys seem to have gradually come to terms with what having a gravship really means, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing this new design come to fruition. In the meantime, moods have settled down, and the SKULLBOYS are... Man, don't mess with Bullet. The SKULLBOYS are back to hunting rats. Just staying prepared, I suppose. Although they really do have quite a lot of potatoes still. Was that a mechanoid in there? It looks like the Fallen Imperium have stopped by again, just making sure their presence continues to be felt by the gangs in the Scarlands. I wonder what they think of this little gang of wasters having their very own gravship. I suppose it doesn't look like much right now. I wonder if they have any expectation of control over airspace. And that looks like another pigskin raid from the pigskin community of Mopal Moen. This time they outnumber the SKULLBOYS 2-1, which does not seem promising. Although the Imperium are close by for the time being. Will they help the SKULLBOYS out? Will the SKULLBOYS even need their help? And will they ever actually get their gravship working before we reach 20 episodes into this series? I have my suspicions. Let's find out if they're correct. Next time